think we've got the pandemic under control, I want you to think again. For months, I've been telling you that we won't be fully out of this woods until we get a vaccine. Sure enough, since America started coming out of lockdown around Memorial Day, we've seen a major uptick in COVID-19 cases in the states that reopened early. In short, it's not over, which means we need to keep focusing on the companies that are coming up with innovative ways to fight the virus. Take Cerus, a speculative company at CERUS, by the way, speculative biotech company that's in the blood business. Specifically, Cerus uses its technology to render most blood-borne viruses, bacteria, and parasites inactive. When you donate blood, the blood center will often run the plasma and the platelets through a system like Cerus's before giving it to someone else. But can it potentially do more than that? When the COVID-19 pandemic exploded in March, Cerus started working on a way to use their technology to fight the disease. This is what's known as, and you've heard this term, convalescent plasma. Like convalescing. They take blood from people who've already recovered from COVID, run it through Cerus' system, and then transfuse it into patients who are still struggling with severe infections. We need to know more about this technology. So let's take a closer look with Obi Greenman. He's the president and CEO of Cerus. Learn more about his company and how it is fighting COVID-19, among many other things. Mr. Greenman, welcome to Mad Money.
Hi, Jim. Thanks for the invitation. It's great to be on your show.
Well, I'll tell you, sir, I am so thrilled you're here. I was with a good friend of mine last night who got COVID early on. And he went to the Hackensack Medical, which is a great hospital here, to give convalescent plasma. He's a very smart man. And he said, everybody who has it, and a lot of my friends have had it, must do this because despite what China says, this is saving lives. You're right on the front lines. It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems like there's some great anecdotal data suggesting that it works. And our first experience with it was during the Ebola outbreak in West Africa in 2015. We were partnered with the Gates Foundation trying to make convalescent plasma available then. So we were ready once this pandemic happened. And our first experience here was in Europe, actually, in northern Italy, with our partner Kedrion, and also in Spain and Switzerland as well. And we really were able to work with our blood center customers and hospitals and stand up those convalescent plasma programs to be able to provide it to patients.
You know, as you said, though, it is anecdotal. When will we get some very serious studies in this? China stopped its study early, but frankly, I'm biased. I don't trust the Chinese. They have stopped trials before, even though they might have been good. Will we have anything definitive about what convalescent plasma does soon from any major journal that we can study?
Well, I think there's a number of randomized controlled clinical studies that are underway both in Europe and the U.S., and they should be reporting in the next weeks and months. So I think that's really promising. Cerus has now deployed our technology at, I think, like 65 sites across Europe, Middle East, Africa, South America, and the U.S. So there are a lot of activities underway, and it really is amazing what's happening. It's my firm belief that the blood centers are sort of the unsung heroes of this pandemic, and that they're moving heaven and earth to try and make this convalescent plasma available to patients, really sick patients. It's really been quite remarkable.
Now, I don't want to by any means say this is your only business. As a matter of fact, in the Q&A section recently of a transcript I was reading, a very smart analyst is saying, you know what, this is actually delayed some of the other things that you can do because people don't voluntarily give the blood that you would otherwise need. So where's the rest of your business? How's it doing?
It's doing really well. And the COVID-19 impact has had somewhat of a slowdown in clinical trials, but the overall business, we've really weathered the storm so far, and the business is resilient, and the team has been resilient. The studies that you're referring to for our red cell clinical studies are now enrolling again. Most of the sites that paused during the height of the pandemic over the last couple of months have started enrolling patients again. So it's really great to see that, those phase 3 studies for our red cell program.
All right, so when people give blood, I mean, I think they just give blood, they get the donut, and they leave. But there's a lot more to it, right? Once that blood is taken, it's not just put into some big tank. There's work that Cerus does with it.
Yeah, well, we work primarily with our blood center partners, and there's a whole processing scheme for how they collect and distribute blood across the U.S. And I think, fundamentally, it all starts with the donors, and just want to put a little plug for the blood centers right now. This Sunday is World Blood Donor Day, and they're really, in a critical situation right now because typically the inventory of blood It even one time was like 3 to 5 days. I think that's been cut in half during the COVID-19 crisis. But anyway, the blood supply is still available and being maintained by blood centers throughout the U.S. and through the world, for that matter.
Okay, so what are you doing with the funding from DARPA?
Yeah, so the DARPA funding I think you're referring to is partnered with one of our collaborators in this convalescent plasma consortium. We will actually work more closely with US BARDA, which is the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Agency. And back in 2017, during the previous epidemic, which was the Zika epidemic, you probably remember, US BARDA came to us and said, we see that your products are approved for platelets and plasma. That's great because it safeguards the blood supply. We'd really like to have that available in the United States for red cells. Can we help you do that? And so they provided us with a contract of about $214 million to accelerate that program through to FDA approval. That's what funds our phase 3 clinical trials and our commercial manufacturing scale up.
Okay, one last question. I know that you're seeing some good growth. You are targeting 20 to 25% revenue growth in 2020. Will you be able to make that despite the problems or because of COVID-19?
Well, I think it's just the resilience of our business. We're one of the few med tech companies that hasn't had to pull guidance. So we reaffirmed that guidance on our most recent quarterly call and expect to see robust growth coming out of the United States as well as from Europe.
Oh, excellent. Okay, well, it's a speculative stock, but you're doing a lot of good things. And I know from people who are doing convalescent plasma, you are crucial in the process. Thank you, Obi Greenman, for coming on Mad Money.
Thanks a lot, Jim. Really appreciate it. It's been an honor.
That's Obi Greenman, President and CEO of Cerus Corporation, CERS. Do your homework, but I think that they have this convalescent plasma, I think, is going to be very, very important in the coming months for this disease. Mad Money's back after the break.
Don't miss a second of Mad Money. Follow @JimCramer on Twitter. Have a question? Tweet Kramer. #MadTweets. Send Jim an email to madmoney@cnbc.com or give us a call at 1-800-743-CNBC. Miss something? Head to madmoney.cnbc.com.